this is a PowerPoint on more cards that fit in other classes. Starting with Death Knight, last time we started Death Knight as well, and I put something basic like Lingering Zombie. This time I'm going a little more thought-provoking with Frozen Touch. The main reason I was thinking about this card is because of the new card, Corpsicle. It is very identical to Frozen Touch. It's 2 mana, deal 3, spend 3 corpses to get it back at the end of your turn, rather than just infuse to get it back. So, this is why. Frozen Touch is incredibly in theme for Death Knight. Death Knight is the best class in the game at using Infuse already, in even Death Knight especially, and Frozen Touch is a Frost spell. It fits perfectly. Infuse is... It should effectively be considered a Death Knight mechanic compared to every other class. This one, I feel like, is pretty on the nose, especially because of Corpsicle, but I felt like it was worth bringing up. Then, for Demon Hunter, I chose Mantle Shaper. It synergizes incredibly well with the Naga spell idea of Naga Demon Hunter. We've had multiple cards in the past, like Predation, that also costs 0. If you play a Naga, yes, it takes a little bit more. You have to play 5 spells for Mantle Shaper to cost 0. But throughout the game, you'll be able to discount it, and then with your Blind Eye Sharpshooter, you can get it to cost 0 for your combo turn. A lot of people don't like Naga Demon Hunter, and I understand that, but I think it's a very interesting archetype. It's definitely one of the coolest that Demon Hunter's ever had, and Mantle Shaper fits it absolutely perfectly as a spell synergistic Naga that is already a dual class card. Make it a tri-class card, if you know what I mean. Then for Druid, I chose Saddle Up. It's very similar to Soul of the Forest. Soul of the Forest even used to be 4 mana. Saddle Up is now 4 mana after the nerf. Makes perfect sense. But Token Druid is struggling, I would say, in Wild immensely. Even if there was a Token Druid in Standard, it would also adore Saddle Up. Saddle Up makes it so that you can discount things like your Frost Saber Matriarch, your Knight of the Wild, or just have a big board of beasts that you can buff, because Druid also has more beast synergies than almost any other class, except Hunter. This one, I feel like, is very, very in theme for Druid, especially because we have the just the fact that Soul of the Forest is already a thing. We even have spin-off cards like Spirit of the Murloc, which is similar to Soul of the Forest. Saddle Up, of course, in that same idea. Then for Hunter, I chose Krakatoa. I've said numerous times in the past that a lot of rogue legendaries could easily fit into Hunter. Voltron makes sense, Krakatoa makes sense, Jandis Barov makes sense, because Hunter can make better use of them than Rogue ever could, and thematically, they're not even that weird for Hunter, especially Krakatoa is a giant beast, colossal, that on paper probably would have been better than Hydralodon if it were in Hunter. Hydralodon, of course, summons your 3/1 heads. Krakatoa, just like, it has more base stats than Hydralodon. The claws start with more attack than the Hydra heads. They also instantly have rush, so if it's like summoned, it's better than Hydralodon, because Hydralodon's a battle cry to give them rush. And then you get the attack from the weapons. It's just kind of a better card than Hydralodon, I'm not gonna lie. It does have a little bit less synergy with a lot of cards than Hydralodon. Like, it's worse with your Tundra Rhino and your Shadehounds, but like, so what? It just makes a lot of sense in the Hunter class, in my opinion. Then for Mage, I chose Overseer Frigidara. This card is locked behind the unplayable Frost Death Knight, where it used to be quite good. It was a 6 mana 5/6, draw 2 spells, that both Frost deal 2 damage to all enemies. Then it was nerfed to a 3/6, and then a lot of other nerfs to Frost Death Knight just killed it completely. Mage has, precedent of drawing Frost spells and having an effect with, Dungeoneer and Watercolor Artist. Mage has a lot of, if things are frozen synergy, things like that. And Mage needs cards like this desperately. Mage just can't play, like, a slower playstyle. It's just not possible in Wild, and not really in Standard either. Like, the most you can get away with is Hero Power Mage in Wild, which is, it's almost there for a slower Mage, but it's kind of more, a combo deck still. So I think that a card like Frigidara would help Mage immensely in these kind of like slower Reno-style decks that people in the past used to love, but you can't really play anymore. It's super tempo, it helps you fight for the board, it does damage face, it draws you 2 cards, it does actually everything you want. Then for Paladin, this one's a stretch, I'll admit, but Lunar Eclipse would fit really well into Paladin with the upcoming set, Perils in Paradise, in Linessa, or Sunsapper Linessa, where your spells that cost 2 or less cast twice. So Lunar Eclipse would cast twice, and then it would make any card that costs 3 to 6 mana be able to cast twice because they cost 4 less. This card is fun. This is just a fun idea, I'm going to be honest. Would it be too strong? Probably not. It's not like Paladin really can make that much use of Sunsapper to Lanessa. Yeah, you have Holy Glow Sticks, so you can deal some damage face, and you can deal, like, 16 damage. Wow, it'd be so nuts. But, like, so? That's all I can really say. So what? It costs a lot of mana to do. It costs 7 mana, and you have to play a Holy Spell first, so probably 8 mana, just to deal 16 damage in Paladin of all classes. Will that be good in Standard? Yeah, probably. But in Wild, it's not really anything. Lunar Eclipse would help a lot. It would let you cheat out so many spells, let you double up on so many spells for 7 mana. Like, it would just be really cool. I'm going to be honest. It would be incredibly cool. And Rule of Cool wins out a lot of time when you're making videos like this. Then, for Priest, I chose Trog Gemtosser. I mentioned this on Twitter a week ago or so, that Trog Gemtosser in Priest would be an actual war crime. Dude, if you could play Void Touch Attendant into Finale Gemtosser on 4, and you just deal 8 damage to your opponent's face with the a 1-3 and a 3-2 on top of whatever else you have on board, dude, people would rage quit. It would be so nuts. This card would be incredible in Reno Priest. It's just a very powerful, tempo tool. It fights for board very well. It can deal damage face. It's got an okay body. It's not hard to get Finale. Finale is pretty easy to get off. It's just a lot of the Finale effects aren't that great. So you would really like Trog Gemtosser. You can play it on like 5 with a hero power, or you can do a lot of different things. And then obviously Shadow Priest would love this card. Like, it would be so insane in the deck. I mean, like, this one it would be a war crime. It would actually just be unreal levels of broken, but it's really funny. So I think it's the one we should bring up. Then for Rogue, I chose Runic Adornment. Rogue has a lot, and I mean a lot, of shuffle cards that have cast when drawn, so Runic Adornment fits pretty well. 3 or less cost Rogue spells are pretty good for the most part, so I would see that this card maybe could see play if you had more of a tempo Rogue, but again, like I keep saying, Rogue in Wild hasn't been given tools for a tempo Rogue to exist in it for a long time. In Standard, Runic Adornment probably would make the cut, because it's just a powerful card that Demon Hunter can't make that much use of. And then, of course, Rogue, say you get, like, I don't even know. You could get, like, Stick Up in Rogue, so you effectively have, like, the quick draw at the start of your turn. You could have damage to go face. You could have Shadow Step if you really want to be funny and Shadow Step your minions at the start of your turn. It's just, there's so many things that you can get off this that would be very powerful, and it's just kind of cool to think about a shuffle Rogue, an archetype that we haven't really had be able to work. Runic Adornment would help for sure. Then for Shaman, I chose Serenite Shambler. Elementals are big in Shaman. Enhancement Shaman is an archetype from WoW that was tried to be introduced in Darkmoon Faire. It's a bit lacking, in my opinion, for like a deck archetype. You can't really play it in Wild. In Standard, it was okay in like Elemental Shaman during United and Stormwind, but it didn't really get to make much of a dent. So Serenite Shambler would help on both ends. Elemental that gives attack and synergizes with spells. It checks all the boxes of Shaman. I think this card is pretty simple. It's one of the most simple ideas for this entire video, and just punching your opponent in the face is really fun. There's something about when the hero lifts up to deal a lot of damage to the opponent's face that's just really, really, really fun in this game, and I think most people would agree. It's why even Druid is like one of my favorite decks. It's why a lot of people like Kingsbane. It's why a lot of people like weapon kind of decks. So it makes sense, right? It's just really cool to punch your opponent in the face with your own hero. It's just cool. So Serenite Shambler, insanely cool card. Then for Warlock, I chose Painter's Virtue. Hear me out. Warlock has had hand buff cards in the past. You had the Roscon's Rumble entire set that tried to synergize around Hyreek. Didn't really work because the cards were terrible. But you have Imprisoned Scrap-Imp, which is a very powerful card that did see play, and it was nerfed even because it was so strong. Imprisoned Scrap-Imp is actually still so powerful. You can play it in Wild, and it's not a bad card. It's just not really anything to play it in, so that's more where the card doesn't fit. Now, I understand that Painter's Virtue is a weapon that has attack, which isn't something that Warlock tends to do. All Warlock weapons have 0 attack, all 3 of them, so I understand that you might not think that that is great for the class. But it also has Lifesteal, which is something that Warlock adores. Healing in Warlock is a big, big, big thing. I think that this could be the first attack style weapon that Warlock actually has, and so what? Why can't Warlock have weapons that attack? Like, why can't Mage? Why can't Priest? It's not 100% in theme. Yes, I get that, but it provides so many kind of cards that work similarly to Painter's Virtue that you could put in these classes that, so what? The class doesn't really attack very much. Give it low attack so it doesn't really matter. But it gives you the option of printing cards that synergize with attacking, like Painter's Virtue. I keep going back to it. So you can have a condition that is through your attack. I think this card would be really good in Warlock, personally. It's a crazy card in Standard Paladin already. So I think that it would help out, a hand buff Warlock if you're trying to go through that again. Then, lastly, I chose Kangor's Endless Army for Warrior. This one's super simple. I mean, Inventor Boom already basically does the same thing as Kangor's, so, it just slots in absolutely perfectly. Ziliax is so strong that it brought Kangor's back to Paladin. You have Unkiliax, and it's just good. It's just a really good card. Resummoning your Ziliax, resummoning your Leviathan are already really powerful in Paladin, so put it in Warrior, a class that is known for their big mechs, and suddenly you can do it again. You can have your Ziliax resummoned through Kangor's and Inventor Boom, and if you really want to be spicy, you can have things like your I can't remember what it's called. It's the 10-mana 8/8 that shuffles 3 bombs to your opponent's deck. Death Rattle Rush that was introduced in the latest mini set. You could have that to get resummoned by Kangor's. You can have all your Magnetics be resummoned by Kangor's, because Magnetic on like big minions is probably more prevalent in Warrior than it would be in Paladin, to be honest. Magnetic is more of an aggro tool in Paladin rather than in Warrior, so it works like that. I think it would just be really cool, and that's a lot of these cards, is I think they're just really, really cool. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And guess what? I'm hosting another giveaway. The new expansion is coming out in July, if I remember correctly. It's July 24th, off the top of my head. I don't know specifically. So yeah, just like before, tell me your favorite Hearthstone card to enter. Only subscribers can enter. And I'll pick a random one from a random video like I did last time. Basically, a Deity was the guy who won. He's a, I gave him the stuff. He can vouch to that. He's in my Discord. If you want to join, you can see that as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Rising again, darker than they've ever been.